Hello everyone, welcome to Gary Mac Studio. Today I'm going to start this next giveaway to go to a lady named CJ that we're members of Tisch Academy, and I see her work on there all the time, and she sees my work, and there's just a whole bunch of us in Tisch Academy, and we exchange our art, and we critique each other's art, and we compliment on each other's art, and it's just a fun thing to do. But on my YouTube channel, I have started to do a giveaway about every 6 weeks or so. And how I pick who I want to give away to are the ones who comment on my YouTube channel the most for that period of time, and I'll give away a painting of their choice. And she chose one. Actually, she let me choose which one I wanted, but it was of a Ruby Beach where me and the wife had taken a vacation, and I took just bukus of photographs around Ruby Beach in Olympic National Park up in Washington, and it was just a beautiful place. And so the actual photograph it was a cloudy gray day, but she wanted a little color in it, and here, let me show you what the photograph is. There's the photo that I took of Ruby Beach, and you can see down in this area how far away I was. These are people. These are people walking on the beach right down in here. So actually, the scale of it is just a lot bigger than what it looks like in the photo. But up in the sky, I'm going to do a sunset on this one. I want to put sunset colors in, and I want to have those colors reflecting down on this beach, and then on these trees, and on these whale heads. They call these whale heads. They're sticking up like that because some of them look exactly like a whale's head sticking up out of the water. So that's the picture I'm going to try and get on the canvas. And this is a 16 by 20. It's not a large canvas, and it's not a real small canvas. And I put a gray a gesso on it. So we're just going to go from there, and let's see what happens. And I forgot to mention, I'm going to do something a little different on this. I'm going to play my guitar, and I haven't played my guitar. It's been a couple of years since I picked up the guitar and played any, and I picked it up yesterday just to see if I could play, because if you'll look at my hands, boy, they're just riddled with arthritis, and they're really stiff. And I don't have the finger speed that I used to, and especially when I was a young man. But now I'm 77 years old, and everything slows down, everything. So I was going to give it a shot, and you're going to hear on here today. Like I say, I picked it up yesterday and tried to pick a little bit, and re-familiarize with the procedures. And I can play a little bit, and there's going to be some mistakes in there, and you guys, this is just real TV. I'm not trying to be something that I'm not, but as I go along, I like to get my own music in these videos, and I think as I go along and I practice more and more, and if I practice a little bit every day, I'll get better and better. So this is just on the electric guitar, and I've got an acoustic guitar that I like to play as well, but I've got to get my fingers in shape a little bit because the acoustic guitar takes a little more effort and a little harder on your fingers, so I have to take it easy on it, and we'll just see how this turns out. So y'all listen, and I want to put in some music here and let's just see what happens. And this ought to be fun, or it'll be fun for me. So I'm just going to start blocking in some of these images. Let's get a horizon in here. I want to put this horizon right down along here somewhere, right along there, and then we've got this island out here. It comes in here something like this, comes over and down, and okay, everyone, I did a clip speed on this. I sped it up so that you can just watch, and anyone who's learning to paint, just watch what I do. I could sit here and explain it all and everything, but you can see, you can gather by just watching how I apply these paints, and learn from this tutorial just by observation, and just look how I get all my images in, and what you see right now, I'm just blocking in places where all of this stuff is going to go, and here in just a second I'll show you a picture of my guitars, and then we'll continue on with this painting, and you guys just watch. And here's a little background music, and here's my guitar. The electric guitar is a Paul Reed Smith, a very beautiful and great sounding guitar. And then the acoustic guitar is a Japanese-made Gibson. It was a Gibson guitar that was made in Japan, and it's called an Epiphone. And I don't know if they still make them or not. I'm assuming they do because I've been out of music for so long. And so it's going to be painful for a week or two to get my fingers in shape, and but you can kind of hear in the background how I'm playing my guitar. I like smooth jazz, slow jazz. When I was young, I played rock and roll and traveled around the country playing rock and roll. That's how I made my money. I made a living at it. Starting at a young age, I started playing traveling in a group called The Road when I was just 13 years old, about almost 14 years old, and traveled around everywhere, and playing dances and concerts and different things, and we were front bands for some pretty famous people back then. So, and did some recording in some famous recording studios. Roy Orbison had one in Amarillo where we did some recording. And I met the guy. He was a nice guy until it come to music. And then when it come to music and recording, he was pretty much a tyrant, and it had to be right, or you were out of there. And so my background is in the music, but I quit playing, and I didn't play for, man, a long time, 20, 30 years. I didn't pick up a guitar because I just got burned out on it. And then in 1974, a preacher gave me that Epiphone guitar, and I started playing music with gospel groups. and we started going into prisons, and from there I went out on my own and started doing prison ministry, and I'll give some testimonies on that someday, because I've got some very interesting stories about inmates and going into prisons and counseling with inmates. And all these guys needed was somebody to love them. All they needed was a friend, and that's all I went in for, was just to be a friend. I didn't go in to preach a sermon or push a religion. I just went in to see if there was anything I could do to help, because they needed help. Okay, what you see here is I cut the top off of that island there a little bit, and I lowered the horizon down a little bit. I changed the composition some, because the horizon line was just a little bit high on the camera, so I brought it down a little bit. I wanted more sky in there, because the sky is going to be it's going to be the beauty of it. So let's just listen here for a couple of minutes, and then we'll go on. Speaking back when I was young, even on further back in my childhood days growing up, childhood was always an adventure. It was exciting. It was in sometimes grandeur, and sometimes it was fear, sometimes disappointment, but always love from my family. And my dad always made life exciting for me. Never drudgery. I never feared my dad, only if I did something stupid. And then I would have to face the consequences. And it continually kept me seeking the excitement of the sensational things that when you're growing up and learning and everything, it was exciting for me. And life is always looking forward to the things that life itself has to offer. And love that comes from your family. I had two older sisters and two younger brothers, and we were such a very tight and loving family. And it always reveals happiness. We had a very happy family childhood memories. And in those visions of those times, when, like, my little brother, his name was Ray Lynn, and but his brothers, his brothers and sisters, we called him Lynn, but he liked to go by Ray, but we called him Lynn, and my sisters called him Lenny when we were young, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years old, and Lynn and I would take off. We never wore shoes. The only time we wore shoes was when mom and dad had dressed us up to go to church or over to a friend's house or something like that, or some occasion we put on shoes. But other than that, we were barefoot. And boy, I remember me and my brother, we lived in a little rural community right north of Amarillo. It was called Pleasant Valley, and we had a pasture out at the back of the house with a creek that runs through it, with Thompson Creek running right through the back of our property. And boy, me and Lynn we'd take off and we'd get out on that hot asphalt in our bare feet, and boy, it'd be so hot that asphalt would actually just melt. It would become liquid. And the man, we'd take off running as hard as we could go, and we'd run until our feet got so hot we had to stop, and we'd seek refuge in a short stop in a cool green grass or a mud puddle, and cool our feet. And then we'd take off again and run until we couldn't stand it anymore, and we'd jump into a culvert with water or mud or sometimes green grass, and as we would run along on that hot top, and that melted tar would stick to the bottom of our feet, and we'd cool them off, or actually while it was still wet on the bottom of our feet, we'd step in the sand or some dirt, and then we'd get back up on, and it would stick to that tar on the bottom of our feet, and then we would get back up on that hot tar, melted tar on the roadway. And then we'd step back off, and actually we'd built up soles on your shoes on the bottom of our feet. And it would protect our feet from goat heads and grass burgers and all kinds of stuff. And it was just like wearing a pair of shoes without any shoes. And when it's time to go home, the only way you could get that stuff off was Daddy'd clean it off with some gasoline. Is the only thing to take it off your feet. Until we reached our destination, and usually down at the park called Thompson Park, and it was all green grass and shaded trees, so we could run around barefooted out there without much pain. And sometimes when we have to wear shoes, those calluses on the bottom of our feet would build up so thick that the shoes, actually putting on shoes, it hurt to walk in them. And Dad would take his straight razor and he would slice off some of those calluses on there, and then he'd put lanolin on them to soften them up. And these are just some things I remember as a childhood, and things are so much different today as they were back then. And one time, Lynn and I went down to the park. It was just he and I was about maybe 10 years old, and Lynn was about 6 years old. And we were down at the park, and they were having an event there, and what it was they were having a raccoon hunt, and they had all these coon hounds, and what they did, and if they did that today, they'd be thrown in jail. But what they would do would take a raccoon, and they'd tie 2 ropes onto this raccoon, and they'd start way up to the other end of the park, and that park had 3 ponds on it, 3 lakes. And they would take that raccoon, and they would lead him all around these lakes and down through some woods, and then down to by the main lake, the main pond, where the dam was. And me and Lynn we crawled up on that side edge of that dam, and we watched over the edge. We were just laying down on our stomach in the green grass, and we was watching this event. And what they did, they had made a floating platform. It was about, just guessing, I don't know, it's been a long time ago. It was probably about 6 foot by 6 foot. And it was a little floating raft about, probably 10 yards from the bank, from the shoreline. And then they'd take all these coon dogs way up where they had started with this coon, and they'd turn these coon dogs loose. And those dogs would track down the scent of where that raccoon had been, and they would follow it all around those ponds and lakes and through the woods, and then when they come to that to the dam there where that raft was, these dogs would just dive off into the water and try to reach that raccoon. And it was just, I love dogs. We've always had dogs all of our lives as kids, and we just love dogs. And we watched these dogs, and those dogs would try and climb up on that raft to get to that raccoon, and that raccoon would step off on top of those dogs' heads, and he would just hold them under the water. He would hold them under the water until those dogs drowned, and they would probably a dozen of those dogs, and I don't remember exactly, but at least 3 of them drowned before one of those dogs finally got to that coon, and it was just a gruesome sight. And when I saw that, me and Lynn, we took off. It was just, we couldn't stand it anymore. That was just a terrible, terrible thing. And as I said, if they did something like that today, they would get thrown in jail for abuse. But there's coon hunters and stuff today that basically do the same thing. They just go coon hunting out in the woods, and I don't know what they do with the coon when they kill it. I don't assume they would eat the thing. They might. I don't know. But doing it for sport, that just I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Even then, as a child, it didn't make any sense to me. And some of the things that we did, that creek that runs down through there, me, Lynn, and Sandra and Pat, my 2 older sisters, we made this raft, and Dad brought home 4 truck tire inner tubes, and we blew those things up, and we tied a piece of plywood on top of it, and we got in that Thompson Creek, and when there was a lot of rain and water running down it, well, we'd haul that thing up to the dam on wagons, and then we'd float down that creek on that homemade raft, and it was just so much fun. Gosh, some of those adventures down that creek, man, there was a mudslide on the bank of that creek, and all the neighborhood kids would gather up down there on a Saturday or Sunday, and we'd pour water down the side of this mudslide down into a pool down where the water would pool at the bottom in that creek. And man, we'd slide down that mudslide. It was just slick, smooth mud. And boy, when we get back to the house, Mom and raise Cain about all the mud on us, and she'd take a water hose and hose us all down and wash us off before we could go in the house. And we never went into the house unless we just had to. Mom and Dad had to make us to come in from outside because we had so much fun playing. We made our own games. We made up stuff to play outdoors. Indoors was not. Indoors was a drag, man. We wanted to be outside playing with all the neighbor kids, and when I was about I was about 6 years old, I guess, 5 or 6 years old. We moved from a place out to Pleasant Valley, and we moved in this house, and there was a neighbor next door to us. And on the first day, Dad got the house set up and was ready to bring the family out there. We hadn't seen it yet. We hadn't seen the place. And Mom had fixed some supper, and we sat down for supper. It was late in that evening, and we started eating. Dad said, Donald Duck lives next door. And we all laughed, my two sisters and myself and Lynn, we laughed. Yeah. He says, no, that's his name, Donald Duck. And we go, yeah, Dad, right. He goes, no, that's his name. His name is Donald Allen Duck. And so, man, I couldn't hardly wait to meet Donald. And Donald had a brother named Jerry, a younger brother named Jerry, and Donald was my age. And Sherry was younger, and then he had another brother, Sherry and Jerry Duck. They were twins, and they were a couple of years younger than I was, and more right Lynn's age. And I'll never forget. Boy, we had so much fun. They had this little Shetland pony, and that little Shetland wouldn't let you ride him. You couldn't control him. He just buck you off. So what we would do, we would lead that Shetland pony to way back to the back end of the pasture, and then one of us would get on him, and the rest of us would take off because that pony would chase you. That pony would chase you down, and that's the only way you could ride him. Is we'd take off running, and if that pony caught you, he'd bite you. And so we'd run as hard as we could go, and whoever was riding that pony had a ride. Boy, I'm telling you, he had a ride, because he would buck and jump and spit and holler all the way and chasing us to the house up there. And there was a fence there, and we'd run and just jump over that fence. And whoever was on there, their life was in the hands of that pony. And it was just, gosh, it was just so much fun. We just had a blast. We made our own clubhouse. We dug a ditch back down in the pasture back down in there. We dug a ditch down there, and big enough to where you couldn't quite stand up in it, but you could crawl up in it, and that was our clubhouse. And what we did, we dug this little trench, and then we dug out a big room, and then we covered the top of it with some boards that Daddy had out by the barn, and I don't know what he was using them for, but we took them and laid them across the top of that, and then covered it with dirt. And that was our clubhouse. And we just discovered all kinds of things down in there, just growing up thing, and it was just so much fun. And I remember one time Donald and his mom was in a car accident, and it was pretty serious. And Donald, when on impact, his head went through the windshield of their car. And I remember Mom and Dad talking about it. And when Miss Duck said that when the doctor was examining him, and he knocked him out, and when he finally come to, the doctor, he said, asked him what his name was, and he said, Donald Duck. And the doctor goes, oh wow, he's completely out of it. He don't know nothing where he at. And his mom said, no, that's his name, is Donald. His name is Donald Allen Duck. And we had fun with that. And one time, Jerry when we were going to Pleasant Valley School, we had this art class, and they had this one room set up where we did this painting. Oh, I forgot what you call those watercolor paints that we used back then. Anyway, we were doing this art class, and we were all, and there was probably about 10 or 15 kids in that class, and the teachers said that had to leave the room because for a few minutes, so everybody just keep on painting their example. Jerry Duck was there. He was standing right beside me, and there was a kid right across from us looking at us over there, and he took this pretty good sized brush, a big old brush, and I saw him sopping it up real heavy with paint, and I saw him reach back. He was going to sling that paint at us, and I told Jerry, I said, "Duck," because that kid was going to sling paint. Jerry, when I said "duck," Jerry turned around and says, "What?" Well, that kid slung that paint. It went right across his eyeball, right across his face. With that, slung that paint on there. And boy, I tell you, we laughed. And then I laughed until my side hurt. Because when I hollered "duck," he turned around and says, "What?" And I meant for him to duck down behind that table. Oh, and those were some of the fun things we had when I was a child. We just, like I said, I grew up in a storybook childhood, and I'm not kidding. I've got stories and stories and more stories that I could tell about my childhood days. And one of them was I got expelled from school one time, and I'll probably tell that story in another painting, another session sometime, because that was pretty serious, and in a sense that for one time in my life I really actually feared my dad, and it was just actually it was a glorious lesson for me that I learned that I carry on to this day, and I carried it on to my own child. The way my dad treated me about what I did, it actually risked the lives of a bunch of kids on a playground. And I'll tell that story one day, because it involved it involved some ammunition, and brought to school, and I'll tell that story. So anyway, right now you can see I've added in a little bit of color in the sky, and I raised that or brought that horizon line down some to get a more eye-appealing composition, and let's just watch here, and I'll see if I can get some more music going on in here. Let's just see. I don't know. I may not do any more music today, because well, what I did, just what you heard a while ago, my fingers are pretty sore, touchy today, just from what little bit I did yesterday. So let's just sit here and watch a minute, and I might tell a prison story. I might tell a prison story while you guys watch, and as I said, you guys just watch what I'm doing, and if you're new and learning, or if you're seasoned and you see something that I'm doing that you might pick up as a technique, try it. And that's the way I learn. I just try to see what works and what doesn't work, and it's just a fun thing. And right here I'm beginning to paint in some surf, because the surf was pretty heavy that day. In fact, the surf was they was probably 6 foot surf. It was heavy, And then they were rolling in pretty heavy that day. And as I said, the scale of this is deceiving because if you saw in that photograph how small those people were, these monoliths sticking up out of the ocean there they were big, they were tall. And some of that surf was splashing up around on those rocks and around, and you could hear the crash of the waves, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful day. And here in a little while, I'm going to add more color in. I want to add quite a bit more color into the sky and refine it some. Right now, it's kind of choppy and unorganized. So we'll just see how this goes here. Going back to my childhood days, boy, I can remember at Christmas time. Boy, Christmas time was a special time. It was just Mom and Dad made it so much fun and so exciting, and Santa Claus and the whole thing. And as a child, I was very inquisitive. If I got a mechanical toy for Christmas, which we usually only got one, maybe two a piece, because Dad was a plumber, and when we didn't make a lot of money. He made enough for us to be comfortable and had food on the table. But and we usually got something special for Christmas. So if I got a mechanical toy or something for Christmas, I wasn't so interested in playing with it as I was taking it completely apart to see how it would work and then put it back together and then play with it. It's been that way with me all my life. I have to experiment to see how things work. And it is the same way with painting. I have to experiment to see how this stuff works, and it's just so interesting to me. It's not like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain my feelings about it, other than it is an experiment, and the more you tinker and learn with the experimentation, the more you learn, and the better you get at it. And it's that way with anything. I don't care what it is. If you're a computer scientist, the more you study it and the more you practice it, the better you're going to get at it. And or vocals, singing, playing a guitar, anything. To me, it's all art. Everything I do is art. I see the art in it. Doesn't matter what it is. I see the artistic values in it, and how to accomplish, or how it works, how to explain it, and and that's been me from a very small child. I can remember back as far as I was about 4 years old. I don't remember much before that, but after about 4 years old, I remember some stuff and some things that I did that were really dangerous. I don't know how I come up with some of the things I did. I learned that my dad was a hunter, and he had ammunition and stuff around the house all the time, and I knew it was dangerous and would explode, because Dad always he was always teaching me safety, even from a very young age. never point a gun at anybody, and I've got a story about that I come so close to shooting a friend of mine right between the eyes just by being stupid and doing stupid stuff. And I was about 13 years old, and that's another story within itself. And had I pulled the trigger on that gun, it would have changed my life forever. Because I would have killed that kid just in a heartbeat, and I almost did. I'll tell that story, and how my dad's voice came back to me, even though he wasn't present. He taught me a lesson, and as I was sitting there with that gun pointed between this kid's eyes, all I heard was my dad's voice: "Is never point a gun at anyone." And I'll tell that story someday. That story would have changed my life completely. I was a young guy, probably 12 years old, somewhere in there, 10 or 12. I was trying to be the big shot with a rifle. Anyway, I'll tell that story one day. And but even as a young kid, I remember I was like 4 years old. I don't think I was 5. I might have been 5, but I got some of these Daddy's 22 shells, and I learned if you could hit them with a hammer, those things would explode. So I got some of those 22 shells and got out in the garage, and I just hit them with a hammer, and they'd go off. And man, it's a wonder I didn't shoot myself, just messing around with those, because I like to hear the bang. Boy, I've always been, I tell you what, I'm surprised that I'm not a pyrotechnician. Man, I loved fireworks. I loved anything that would blow up and explode. I used to experiment with this stuff, and I just loved fireworks. Fireworks and firecrackers and all that stuff was just man. I could hardly wait till 4th of July would come around and fireworks stands would open up, and boy, I'd load up on fireworks and just have so much fun just playing and experimenting with those things. And but I'd take those 22 shells and sometimes I'd put them between a pair of pliers. I'd hold them with a pair of pliers and then hit it with a hammer, and boy, listen to them pop. And I'd take a whole roll of those. They had cap pistols back then, where you put these caps on these guns and then you shoot them, and they'd make that little recoil, that little gunshot sound. I'd take a whole roll of them and lay them down and hit them with a hammer, and it'd make a big bang. And I don't guess they even make cap pistols anymore. I hadn't even thought about it until just now. I guess they don't make cap pistols, do they? I'm gonna check that out and see if they make a cap pistol anymore. But anything that exploded, and I still do. I still love fireworks. And I've even made my own fireworks before, and it was just a lot of fun. And I don't do that anymore. It's too dangerous, and I just don't mess with it. But and some of you who's been watching, I've been working on this cannon, and I've got this cannon. It would be a 50 caliber cannon, brass cannon, that I started working on, and I worked on it for about a year, and I had to pull off of it because to melt that brass to pour that cannon, I'd have to have some help, and I'd have to do it during the wintertime because it just gets too hot here in Texas to try and do it in the summertime, and you fire up that foundry and it gets 2,500 degrees, and it's so hot that you just can hardly stand or be around it. So one day I would like to finish that cannon and fire it off. It'd be a 50 caliber, and I'm just about through with it. In fact, I'm through with all the chassis and everything to hold the cannon. And all I need to do is pour that cannon and get it drilled out for the 50 caliber cannonball. But and that's just the way I am. I'm always experimenting with something. If something intrigues me, I will pursue it until I get it done one way or another. If it really if I'm really enthused about it and it intrigues me that much, I will pursue it. And as I've mentioned before, I've made my own guitar. Actually, I was a professional woodworker for a long, long time. In fact, I started when I was 19. When I quit playing in the band, I started working in a cabinet shop, and I did that up until from 1966 until 1990, almost the year 2000. I worked in woodworking. I made furniture and custom cabinets. Had my own cabinet shop, and I made cabinets for really upscale homes, mansions, and some of you had seen some of my videos. You'll see my own kitchen. I built my own kitchen, countertops and all my kitchen cabinets and the whole works. Some of you who've watched my videos. I just get into all kinds of stuff. Gosh, I don't know. I've dabbled in just about a little bit of everything. And one thing I really do have some problems with is computers. I didn't grow up with computers like kids today did, and it can be really confusing for me. Because when I was a kid in grade school, this was in the mid 50s, early 50s, let's see, yeah, about 1955 or so. Dad come home one day and as I said, he had his own plumbing company, and he had a calculator, and it had a handle that you'd type in your thing and pull this handle down, and it would calculate whatever. And he brought home a pocket calculator. It would just fit in your shirt pocket, and that was a marvel. I mean, nobody had ever seen anything like that before, and gosh, you could just punch in a number and it'd be instantly give you the calculation. And it got to where we couldn't use them in school. They were banned from using them in school because it was considered cheating. So they couldn't do it. But now, today, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that that's pretty mandatory that you learn this computer stuff. And I didn't grow up with it, so it was these computers are a challenge for me, and just editing these videos, I really get frustrated because I can't get them turned out to professionalism that it needs to be. But I get comments all the time that people, man, they love the way that I do it because it's just true to life, and it's not professional. So okay, well, that's okay with me because it's not professional. What you see is what you get, and I'm not educated at all in this computer science stuff. And boy, this new artificial intelligence thing, man, I watched that and I'm wondering, you know what? Things are so much different from when I was a child. And these kids growing up, I can see someday their best friend's going to be a robot. It's just amazing because I can sit here and have a conversation with a computer right now, and that just boy, it just blows me away. I can get on my cell phone and hey Siri, and he'll let me know what's going on in the world today. It's just crazy. And as I said, I can see sometime in the future that people's best friends are going to be a computer, and that's really a shame because man, you lose all that camaraderie that I had as a child with the people around you, and you get to know them and you get to love them and you get to cry with them and you get to laugh with them and give and take of one another. And I watch the 6 o'clock news and I see all this violence and all this hatred. It's just a really sad thing for me because I grew up in an environment that was completely opposite of what I see on the news today. It's just a sad thing. War and killing and all this stuff is just so outdated. What's the use in it? There's no use at all. Why not go to your neighbor and say, hey man, hey, let's work out something here, and you give me this and I'll give you that, and we'll be friends, and I'll come to your house and you come to my house. You know what? I just don't understand anymore. Everything is just so backward. But when you look at history, it's pretty much always been that way. Man trying to dominate the other for whatever reason. And there's no sense in it at all. I just really do get saddened watching it. And as I said, going into prison, I did it for one reason and one reason only. And that was to make a friend and try and help someone that needed some help. And over the years in my life, I'd see people in need, and I gave away cars. I gave away a van to people who needed transportation to do a job or get to work. And I don't know. That's just me. Why can't people be that way? It looks to me like that's a much better life than taking a gun and going out there and seeing if they could shoot somebody because they don't like them. Gosh. Holy cow. Anyway, let's get off of that depressing point and let's look at the bright side. There is a bright side, and I'm living it. Whatever I can do of myself, and just like these giveaways, I love giving of myself. I don't care about the monetary thing of it. Yeah, it's nice to sell a painting once in a while because it helps fund my studio. And I do need a camera. I need a real good camera desperately, because all that you see on here with me is just my cell phone. And oh well, we'll see what happens. So what I'm doing right here now is I'm adding a glaze over what I've got up there, and I'm adding these colors into the sky with glazes, and even though the colors that I'm adding on are darker than what's up there. They are transparent and letting the underpainting shine through. Even though they're darker, it's brightening up the sky because it's drawing the eye more and more toward those colors and sadly my cell phone doesn't take very good videos or pictures. They always turn out looking chalky, and as I've stated before, I've taken my paintings to professional photographers, and their pictures with a good camera they're not chalky like this show. And I wish everyone could see it in real life. And when I ship this one off to CJ, she'll see it don't have that chalky effect that the camera here showed. And I'll just keep adding in these glazes over and over until I get my desired effect, and make it look like a beautiful sunlit evening. That actually it was, except when we were there this day, it was overcast and hazy and cloudy and windy, and the surf was up, but it was still a beautiful day. And all I lack now is I've got to paint in my two birds, and you guys that's been watching me, every painting, every landscape I do, it will have two birds in it, and as I've stated, one is my wife and one is myself. And just like on this vacation where I took these photographs, we go everywhere together. I never go anywhere without her, unless it's someplace that she just don't want to go, and that's fishing. She don't like to go fishing, and I do. And once in a while I'll take off and go fishing with my brothers. But that's about the only time we're ever separated. And we just live a happy life together, love each other, and life in that way. It's so beautiful and so relaxing, and I can't imagine it being any other way. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's just a lovely, it's just a lovely world. And I talked to so many inmates in prisons that had such a horrible, terrible life, and there's no sense in it. There's just no sense in it. When everything can really be lovely and beautiful, sure, yeah, we have problems once in a while, and there's things come up that just common to life itself, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it, except don't fret over it. Things are going to happen, no matter who you are. What's common to flesh, it's going to happen to everyone, and no one is exempt from that. But how you handle it is a real issue. Do you take it and embrace it and say, yes, this is the way of life, and it is to be expected? Or do you go into a recluse and try to hide yourself from it? No, man. I'm so open and so plain. I don't have anything to hide. Nothing at all. It's just the world is what you make of it. It's what you make of it. And right now I'm trying to make something beautiful of this canvas that I'm going to give to this person that hopefully she will like it and enjoy it and hang it on the wall. And if she doesn't, I'm going to tell her to send it back to me. I'll give it to someone else. But I think she'll like it. Just watching her comments on my YouTube channel, and then and on the Tish Academy, where we are members of, she comments on just about everything that I post on there. In fact, I'll post this picture on there probably this evening. I'll get it on Tish Academy, but on the Academy, I can't go in there and say, "Oh, this is CJ's painting that I painted for her as a giveaway." I can't do that. It's kind of against their rules, and so. But I will post on there. Hey, here's a painting I did today, and I will post it on there, and people will comment, and some will critique it, and in fact, CJ she critiques people's stuff quite a bit. She's critiqued my stuff before, and I have critiqued her stuff before, and some people don't take critiques very well. Some people, I can critique a painting and I'll never hear from them again. And then there's others who will ask me, do you see anything that I need to change? And if I see something, I'll usually just transfer it over into Procreate and edit it and then send it back to them. And if I remember correctly, I did one for BJ that way. I mean, BJ, that's CJ. My little dog's name is BJ. It's Billy Jack. And BJ is short for Billy Jack. And but I think I critiqued one for her, but I don't remember it. It's been a while back. Anyway, we just go in there and have fun. We're friends, and we all love each other and have a good time and enjoying what we love to do. And painting is what everybody in the academy likes to do. And Andrew comes on in there at least once a week and does a tutorial. And he's just a marvelous painter, teacher, and he's 10 times the painter I am. But his style is a little different from mine, and of course everybody in there has their own way of doing it, and what they like, what they dislike. So that's just common among individuals. I may love someone's painting, and then the next guy that comes along, I may not understand it at all. But it's just a fun thing. It's just a very, very fun thing to do. Okay, here's the image where I'm at on this thing right now, and I just stuck it in this temporary frame that I had laying around, and to see what it would look like in a frame. And I'll look at it for another day or two and see if I see anything that needs to be changed. And if I do, I'll make the changes, and I'll put a varnish on it, and I'll sign it, put a varnish on it, and I've got to put those two birds in it, and then I will ship this off to CJ in the next day or two. So CJ, if you're watching, you be looking for it. I'll let you know when I ship it out. All right, love you guys, and hey, anybody wants a painting of mine, come and visit and say hi and get your name on the list there, and I'll sure paint one and send it to you. I love everyone. Bye bye.